Let me get something else set up real fast. We're gonna play this little film. We're gonna play this little film real fast for educational purposes only. I'm gonna play this film. If y'all Moors don't have this book, you need to get it. I'll talk about it a little bit. I spoke on it a while ago when everybody talk about Negro and happy, holy, and Negro, black, and color, and your freedom is connected to your blackness. That's the most asininest thing somebody can tell you. How is your freedom connected to your blackness?
Oh.
Your freedom is connected to your blackness.
That's what they say.
These goofy ass cyber citizens and these celebrities, anybody that's talking that black stuff, they got to be crazy. They can't know law. Anybody that call themselves Negro, black, and colored is a misnomer and still a slave. And we tell you who we are. That's why I'm not here to argue with nobody. I said, okay, you can be whoever you want to. And it should be clear why the word Negro, black or colored, was never used in the Christian Bible. There was no precedent, whatever for the vulgar name. Just like when I talk about Mark Twain, when he called you a slave and all this, he said, okay, well then I'll just call you a Negro, black or colored, because it's the same shit. Negro in the classical language. In the Hebrew scriptures, the word Cush or Cushite is used in the Christian scriptures. The word Ethiopian is employed to designate African. Even in the 1599 Geneva Bible, they call you a blackamoor. And a booklet has been written emphasizing this important fact by Ross D. Brown of Chicago, entitled, "There Are No Negroes in the Holy Bible." I'm giving you nuggets, and I have a whole company. You don't have to go buy books from nowhere. You can get them and buy them and download them on your tablet. Go print them from a Moore's own company. When Moore's be holding the books, oh, this book costs hundreds of $1,000. You can't get them. You can get them from us. And the first known use of the Negroes and the name for slaves. The first use of the word Negro as a noun or name in relation to African people is to be traced back to the period after 1441. I tell Moors, I don't care, Black Laws Dictionary, Volume 1, ain't no definition of black, because black wasn't used to describe ethnicity in the first century. It was used to describe in theater. And when the Portuguese explorers went down the African coast until they reached below the Senegal River, they had referred to the people above that river as Moors or Azingues, Azenegues. Just like when I break down the one word Tartarians, when all these Negroes ran to China trying to lie to y'all. I'm telling you. But when they saw the people of South and of Senegal, who were of much darker hue, and whose weapons were much less powerful than the crossbows and firearms, the Portuguese perceived the possibility of easy conquest and a lucrative slave trade. Thus, they began to enslave the African people. In such a chronicles as the Azura or Zura, we learn how these slaves were captured, how the good Christian Portuguese knights went ashore, burning homes and capturing the people, just like when the government did in Philadelphia in the 80s. Just like when they did on Black Wall Street. Look at the history. This ain't long ago. This was over like 30-some years. I was showing my sister how they did the police chief that's dropped the bomb on these people, on their homes, killed children. That's genocide. They took back to Portugal and on a significant occasion presented these captives to Prince Henry, the Infinite, as they call him, the leader of these expeditions. When I show y'all, just like Queen Elizabeth and all them, and when you see the pictures and they be having the Moors heads on their shoulder, I'll show y'all all this stuff. And he came in the field riding a charger, and they made a division of the enslaved Africans. Even this official Portuguese chronicler Azura was compelled to note that the fact that the common people of Portugal, who had been given a holiday and brought from various areas to witness this new sight, were moved to tears when they saw the brutal partition and separation of mothers from children and the like. Just like when I talk about the European Oliver Cromwell, when they did all of that shit under religion. Just like when I talk about the doctrine of discovery. And I don't have to get books from our people. I can get all books from Europeans. It was in the development of the infamous Inquisitions and inhuman slave traffic that the term Negro was foisted as a noun, as a designation, as a name upon those who were unfortunate enough to be caught in the clutches of the slave traders. And this is the origin of the term Negro. Its origin is vile and infamous. It began in indignity. It began in immorality. And the consciousness and the dignity of man must now rise and dispense with it forever. Azura and Catamosto or Catamasto used Negroes for African slaves from below Senegal. If you consult a book like The Voyages of Catamosto, an Italian navigator who took service under Prince Henry of Portugal in these expeditions, you will observe that the book begins by referring to the land of the blacks of Lower Ethiopia. This narrative was written sometime after 1463 and first published in Vincent in 1507. The English translator by G.R. Crone was published by Hackett Society in London, 1937. The Europeans knew very little about Africa in those days, and as a matter of fact, Prince Henry was able to begin these explorations down the coast of Africa because he had been instructed by Moors as to the nature of the terrain. And the Portuguese, the Spain, the Italians, indeed, the Europeans generally had received their elements of culture along with most of the basic scientific ideas and technology processes, which were so significant for European development. From the Moors and Saccharin scientists, and from Jewish scholars who were intermediaries, which made it possible for them to lose sight of the land and navigate on the high seas. Because of their ignorance of the African continent and peoples at that time, European writers used the term Ethiopian for African. You will observe on some old maps the name Ethiopian Sea is placed all the way around the bend of West Africa, even south of Africa. But however, nobles and true light seekers, the narrative goes along. This record for Catamosto suddenly shifts from the terms blacks or Ethiopians to Negroes or Niggers. This was done as soon as the translator reached the account of the area from which the first slaves had been taken by the Portuguese. That's why I no longer use Moors or Azinguis, but Negroes. And similarly, in the Chronicle of Azura, as soon as the area south of the Senegal River had been reached, where the modern slave trade was begun by the Portuguese, the designation of the native Africans is changed from Moors or Azinguis to Negroes, which was later transposed into English as Negroes. And this chronicle of the discovery and conquest of Ghana by Gomez Enos Azura states, and I quote, in the subscript of the oldest manuscript which has come down to us, that it was completed in 1453. The first English translator, made by Beasley and Prestige, was printed for the Hawklet Society in 2 volumes, the first of these in 1896. And on page 99 of this volume, the first use in the text of the name Negroes appeared in the description of how Dinas Fernandez Diaz passed the land of the Moors and arrived in the land of the blacks, that is called Ghana. But when the Negroes saw that those in the ship were men, they made haste to flee. But because of our men had a better opportunity than before, they captured 4 of them, and these were the first to be taken by Christians in their own land. Negroes, names for slaves, differ from Negroes as color designation. From this, it appears that the term Negroes as a name for slaves was already in use in Portuguese by 1453. Translators and reprints must be checked back to the earliest source materials. Due care must also be taken to distinguish the name Negroes as applied to slaves, and the term Negro simply meaning blacks. For the same word Negroes was used for both meanings in Portuguese and Spanish. Are you listening? Negro, black, I don't care, you still a slave. Whereas in English, Negroes were generally used for slaves and blacks for simple color designation. But that can't be true because you ain't black. How are you black? That's an adjective. Where are you black? You can have a black shirt, but you damn sure ain't black. The usage in the Kaplan Atlas or map dated 1375 is obvious that of Negroes, simply meaning blacks. The reference there to Musa Mali as Finier de los Negros de Ghana is correctly translated Lord of the Blacks of Ghana. The accuracy of the translation is confirmed when it's considered that the author of this map, the Jewish cartographer Abraham Chrysis, could derive his knowledge of the kingdom of Mali only from the Moors, even if it was secured through some intermediary. For at that time, only the Moors went fighter over the caravan routes throughout the Sahara Desert. All the area, including Mali Empire, part of which was later called Ghana, was then known to the Moors in the Arabic language as Balad or Balad. It's Sudan, which properly translate into English is the land of the blacks. Do your scholarship. Only a mere mention can here be made of Azores, confusion of two different areas as Ghana or Guinea, whatever you want to pronunciate it. Likewise, attention is only called now to the discrepancy between the date which Azura gives for the completion of his chronicles in 1453 and his statement that he saw in the town of Lagos boys and girls, the children and grandchildren of the first captives born in the land. For when these first captives are recorded by him to have been brought to Portugal, not earlier, certainly than 1443, the conclusion is, Moors, it's clear that the intervening 10 years were altogether too short for the rearing of grandchildren by the first captives. Just like when they talk about Noah's curse. I can give you all this. The curse of the biblical patriarch Noah was accordingly interpreted for this evil purpose by Christian ministers of the gospel of glad tidings and the goodwill towards men. This curse was declared to be the true and undeniable word of God, who had thereby condemned the Africans, said to be the sons of Ham, to perpetual slavery to the Europeans, conventionally held to be the sons of Japhet, and to the Asian people, similarly deemed to the sons of Shem. Bullshit. Recounting how some of the first Moor slaves taken by Antam Gonsalves were exchanged in 1442 for black slaves. Azura pointedly declared these to be slaves in accordance with the ancient customs, which I believe to have been because of the curse of which after the Doge Noah laid upon his son Cain. Dumb shit. Negroes, branded ugly. Soon thousands of African slaves were being brought into Portugal, since these companies before 1460 already imported into the country annually 700 or 800 Negroes. Large numbers were sold early into Spain and concentrated in such cities as Salamanca and Seville. That's where you see when J.A. Rogers and you see all the Moorish, how can I call them? The Spaniards and the Ku Klux Klan taking their whole uniform. They even got goddamn statues of the Moors, the priests. The Klan stole every fucking thing. The Whigham Party too, none of them original. So numerous had these Africans became in Seville by 1474 that the Spanish monarchs Ferdinand and Isabella issued a mandate appointing Juan de Valladolid, known as El Con Negro or the Black Count. I think I sent another document to my Moors about the goddamn treaty, how they want to banish all the Moors and Negroes out of England. I think that was in 16. I sent it to my nobles. I'll be telling y'all true history. Look this shit up. And you gonna call yourself a Negro. I'm happy to black in America. All that shit is trash. The term Negro required by slave system, all that. And Ferdinand and Isabella issued a mandate appointing Juan D. Valladolid, known as El Conde Negro, or the Black Count, as our judge, and Mariel of the same Negroes, freedmen and freedwomen. You know? Whoa. You know? All your names identify what is given to you. That's what I tell people. But even if you that, what difference do it make if you don't know who you are? If you ain't gonna teach your children, and we don't hear just making stuff, and that's why I tell people they know all this stuff, but they be in jail, and they don't make a way for themselves. That's why I tell people all this wisdom a person have, and they be locked up or they be in messed up living. And I say, so what's the use of knowing who you are if you in poverty and you making dumbass decisions as an adult? What's the purpose of reading all this and these people be locked up and they don't be having nothing? That's why nobody be wanting to hear that from a person that's struggling. Ooh, I know something. So, and from this account, it may be seen that already the name Negro had been identified with slaves. You know? Just like with the word race, it happened as with the word Negro. And then most people right now, if you in trouble, you got in trouble, you a Negro on paper. Because you would sit up here and lie to me on there when you went to court and went through all your stuff. I bet you signed your name and everything. And I bet you they said for the record, state your name. And I bet you a Negro under the black Christian codes. I bet you didn't state for the record. I bet you. So when people be saying all this stuff, you okay. But you still under laws and things as a Negro, black or colored. And then we say all this stuff, but everything you do, every business, everything you go into, contract is Negro, black, and colored. When you sign your name, Negro, black, and colored. Because Moors don't know about proclaim and declare and have due process. When I say, well, what's the religious rights of the indigenous people? What's Declaration of Human Rights, Article 15? Well, I say, what's your nationality? What's your race? And what's your status? Okay, if that's the case, well, what tribe you a part of? This is my tribal plate, my tribal ID. What tribe you a part of? Because your nationality is Moorish American. Your race is Asiatic. Your status is free black. So what tribe you a part of? This is my tribal ID. What tribe you a part of? Because I ain't say you wasn't a Moor. You said it's your tribal ID. Where your tribal leader? And where your tribal members? You don't have none. So you lying. That's why I tell people, dude, if you just by yourself, it ain't no such thing as no sovereign and no citizen. That's an oxy-fucking-moron. If you don't understand that, everything what a person's saying is void. Oh, I'm some sovereign citizen. That's goofy. You ain't no damn sovereign, no citizen at no same time. So what Moore is talking about? When a person can just tell you a whole bunch of stuff and then they be like, okay, well, let me examine your life. And they be like, man, you struggling. You live at your mom's house in the basement. You live with a chick on Section 8 and the government, her dad. You driving around her car. Man, please. You a scam artist. And I ain't talking about nobody individual, but I'll be talking about these people that always drop their stuff down trying to educate somebody and they struggling. And then the Arab, but they'll let a misnomer, they best friends of these Arabs at the store. This is my boy. And I say, what's the difference from Habibi and Abibi? Because they calling you one, you don't even know the difference. Because one is black slave, and that's what they calling you. That's exactly what they calling you, black slave. You don't even know the difference from Abibi or Habibi. Which one? Which one are we talking about? They don't know, because every Moor get up with that goofy shit, and I tell them examine their life. Moors always got something to say, and they ain't part of nothing. Just making up stuff, and I say, well, let me get your kid, and I'm gonna ask your kid who they are. Negro, black. Where you come from, Africa, and these Moors be on the internet, all that with that stuff. Pull their children to the side and they wives and ask them. Everything that they saying, they family and their children gonna say total opposite. Guaranteed. They don't even wear their fez in real life to work or nowhere or the job or nothing. They got that mug on the internet. And they bought it off of Amazon. Shakespeare misapplied, even when Shakespeare, when he used the word Negro and black interchangeably. That's why when I told y'all, when what's the poet name? Mark Twain. When he was using black and color and all that, and back then they were saying that's derogatory. He said, I just call you nigga slaves.
I just call y'all slaves. How about that? Same thing. Or it's word of endearments. We ain't using that if you know. In the book Noquin, published in 1867, who branded the Negro in one chapter as an inferior fellow, done for, and in another demanded removals, banishments, explosions, name you all type of negative stuff. And as a result of such monstrous incidents and indictments put over the misnomer Negro, over 40,000 Afro-American citizens were massacred during the Reconstruction period in the South by the Klan, the white Camelists, and such terrorist gangs. Many European American citizens whose endeavors to uphold democratic rights for all were also brutally murdered during this period of frightful reaction in the South from 1865 to 1876. Just like when I was showing my Empress on World News, all these political people, government officials, now a secret list came out with them trying to overthrow the government. All that when they were trying to overthrow the city, what was that that government building? When all them Europeans was doing it, a militia group, and the list came out. Tavistock Institution. What I show you, I'll talk about this. I lecture this on the college campus. John Coleman, and they sell the books on Amazon for $4 and all the students got the books for me for a fraction of the price. That's why I know Negroes lost, because they ain't a part of nothing. They not elite. They'll talk all that scary shit. Look at the Illuminati, a group of people. Well, that's the enlightened one. So you're afraid to be the enlightened one, and then your brother is the enlightened one, and then we diss. That's the problem, that you ain't gonna never have nothing. Many European American citizens, all of them, they were murdered. See the Aftermath of Slavery by William A. Sinclair. That's the book by William A. Sinclair. You probably can't find it. And then it probably costs love. You ain't going to pay for it. I got a whole library. I got them all. A lot of, I know they are. Just like the other book when I was showing you Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Happiness by the author. A lot of his books, hundreds of $1,000s, some hundreds. Moors can't get them. And they be like, how I got them all? Because my connections. Because I'm an elite. Not like I'm better than nobody, because I'm initiated. Point fucking blank. As late as 1905, the American Book and the Bible House at St. Louis, Missouri, published the book of Charles Carroll entitled The Negro a Beast. All my members got it. In Exhumed of the Nation, they talk about it. But do anybody have it? Do they know it? No, because ain't nobody going to pay for it. And then they ain't going to be able to know how to provide it for a fraction of the price to their members. But created with the articulate speech and hands, that he may be of service to his masters, the white man, and through poised pen and vicious pictures, such as A Birth of a Nation, which is still being shown despite protests. The stereotype or image has been built up in the public mind of the Negro as a beast, a creature retarded by nature with the mentality of a child. Well, that's what a sardine is, a whole bunch of bullshit. And at worst, a savage, bestial, monstrous, who must be kept at bay while forced to labor for his superiors, and who is ultimately to be destroyed. This name Negro, with all its vicious associations, must therefore certainly be abolished. Out of the system came the predication of these names, such as native, kafir. You know what a kafir is, or a kafir, Kaffir, month, and the like, with all the contempt and degradation which go with these derogatory misnomers. Like I told my misnomer, Spanish, Latino, Mexican, they don't even know what they are. And I said, you let some powers that be tell you this dumb shit, and I sit down with your grandma and your great grandma and them, they'll be like, this man telling you the truth. Why you think all attire the same? Genetically, DNA, ain't no such thing as no Mexican or no Latino. That's some made up shit. The separators. We talk about apartheid, oppression. When I talk about authors in that time, when I talk about this writer named Alan Patton, contributed an article to the New York Times, published in the magazine section of April 10th. Back in the day, this enlightened statement, entitled As Blind as a Samson Was, revealed the pathological mindset of the ruthless ruthless rulers of the Union of the South Africa. Indeed, it called to mind the fitting observation of the Greeks, whom the gods would destroy. They first make mad. All in the Dutch rulers deny Africans use of name, regardless of the attitude of the present apartheid minority rulers of the Union of the South Africa, who, although a relatively recent immigrant from Holland, actually called himself the Afrikaner, the man of Africa. Mr. Patton wrote the following. He even refused to grant the black Africans the use of the word African. The black African used to be a kiffer. Let me pause here to explain what kiffer really means. And when you hear denotes, denotation, connotation. So let me tell you what it connotes or connotes. It means an unbeliever, a heretic. And you should mark that in the period of the Inquisition before the 15th century in Spain and other European countries, the term heretic was a brand for what? Destruction. You mean your ass be murdered, nigga. That's what it is. Nigga, kill Africa, kill him. When they call you a heretic, then you were what? Headed straight for the torture chambers of the Inquisition. Research Oliver Cromwell, what he did in the name of religion and for death. Likewise, when the Dutch invaders called the Africans Kafirs, that is, heretics, they were branding them for what? Death. Mr. Patton went to say the black African used to be a Kafir or a Kafir. Today, he is a native or a Bantu. And Africans generally resent the term Negro. I can go on and on with this. The term Negro, let me quote from the Barbados Observer of Saturday, April 23rd, 1960. It seems strange that I did not pick this up in the Afro-American press. Here, however, here it is. Africans object to the term Negro. New York, the Associate Negro Press. A lesson in South Africans, both white and blacks refer to themselves, was given over the video waves recently during one of the Dave Garraway National Broadcast Company Early Morning Today program. Dave was interviewing for a young man from the Union of South Africa, Maxwell Stern, a graduate student at Columbia University, and Bernard Schumann, graduate student at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, both white, and Professor Gizani of the University of NATO and Bermuda Carina, and expatriate, in laying the groundwork for a discussion of the recent South African massacre. Garraway referred to Carina as a Negro. Then the following exchange took place. Carina, excuse me, call us African, please. Garraway, all right, I'm sorry. I don't want to go through all that, but see what I'm telling you. Africans don't call themselves Negro. Where are you getting that shit from? We're going to tell you who we are. The African Lodge of Masons was set up by Prince Hall, whose address to the lodge in 1797 speaks of African and Ethiopian, but never Negro. The militant and powerful appeal of David Walker, published in Boston in the year 1829, was addressed to the colored citizens of the world, but in particular to those of the United States of America. The early poet Phyllis Wheatley, who had been brought from Africa to Boston, wrote in 1772 of Afric and Ethiopic, only once falling into the use of the name Negroes. Obviously, however, this use was due to her Christian teachings and to the dominant American slave mores. And the following pathetic appeal, it clearly shows you that. Historians condemn yet tolerate Negro. Historians condemn yet tolerate Negro. Historians condemn yet tolerate Negro. Before I even go to, let me reverse. Likewise, conscious and forthright in the respect where the sentiments of the people of color printed as an appendix to thoughts on African colonization written by a founder of the modern abolitionist movement, William Lloyd Garrison, beginning with the Resolution of the People of Color of Philadelphia in 1817. The statement adopted similarly in New York, Boston, Baltimore, Washington, Brooklyn, Hartford, Middletown, New Haven, Pittsburgh, Wilmington, all these areas. Lydia Mary Child's appeal in favor of that class of Americans called Africans, published in 1833, demonstrates a similar and growing consciousness among some of the most informed of the European American abolitionists. Historians condemn yet tolerate Negro. William G. Neal's book, I got all these too, which is the first formal account of the contribution of Afro-Americans, is entitled Colored Patriots of the American Revolution. Throughout this book, the term colored is emphasized. The name Negro appears only in quotations or in a very few places under the obvious direct influence of other authors. The first magazine published by persons of African descent in America was called the Anglo-African Magazine. Research it. For a long time, subsequently, there was a colored American magazine which showed the name Negro. However, the term colored is too vague and cannot now be accepted as a proper designation. Several authors have expressed objection to the name Negro, but then went on to use it. This is true of Huggins and Jackson in their introduction to African civilization. They devote a chapter to its consideration and reach the following significant conclusion, although afterwards falling back into tolerance of his harmful name, like the word Negro. I'm getting ready to play the film. I'm warming you all up. And this is just one context. Minorities named to combine origin with present status except Negroes. All other minority groups in the United States of America are generally recognized in terms of the land or nation where hence they came, along with the present national status as Americans. When these motherfuckers, I'm some foreign national. How you a fucking foreign national? What you got to leave ties to with another country? You a goofy. And you ain't never left your raggedy ass neighborhood. Thus we hear in Anglo-Americans, Franco-Americans, Italo-Americans, Irish-Americans, Spanish-Americans, Chinese-Americans. Consider the table of contents in the book, A Nation of Nations by Louis Adamic. Americans from Italy, Americans from Spain or Mexico, Americans from France, Americans from Holland, Americans from Sweden, Americans from Russia, Americans from Germany, Negro Americans. What the fuck is a Negro American? Americans from Yugoslavia. Man, Mexico is some made up shit. Period. Yeah, we can trade. Mexico is like a mix of Mexico. It ain't really nothing. Mexico really ain't nothing. Because that wasn't even the land on the original maps. I tell people, get original maps. Don't get the names that people carry. I be telling people, they be trying to educate me on something. I be like, dude, I'm an educator. What map you looking at? What was it? What did the people call it? What did the people call it? It showed wasn't Mexico on no map. And then Aztecs, what's Aztecs? I keep telling you, we got to get with the oldest and stop just repeating things. So I get what people be saying, but when people be wanting to spit stuff out to me, to a teacher, and I'm like, okay, so if you're doing so much and we know all this, we should be teaching. We should be in situations that we be in. That's why I be telling people, I'm like, what are we here to? Are we here to learn, or are we here to just spill shit out? If you was at a lecture, would you be spilling shit out? But that's what we do. And I'm no disrespect to nobody. We just be spilling shit all off that's going off. I'm like, I ain't asked nobody that. That's why I say, please stay in context. Americans from Norway, Americans from Greece, Americans from Poland, Americans from Ireland. And it ain't no disrespect to nobody. We be all over the place. And we just want to say some stuff or want to show how we know some. I said, I ain't asked nobody what they study. Everybody knows some stuff. But what do you know? Did it transfer to wisdom? Because I ain't here to have no pissing contest with nobody. If we know something, if we got children, we should be teaching our children. If people got baby mamas, they got children, you should be sitting your kids down, going over all this shit with them instead of trying to prove it to me. Because I teach children. My whole family, I teach. I have my members. I have my muftis. That's why I tell people names can be changed. That's why I be telling people. Like, names can be changed. What's the original name? When I talk about Empress, when you talk about Turner, it wasn't even Turner. The name was changed. It was Tunic, Washita, or Washington. It was changed from Washita to Washington. So what are we talking about? We getting caught up in minor things. Man, I ain't even talking about that, dog. I ain't even talking about that. I'm saying stay in the context. We in the book. You are out of context. I'm in the word Negro. Yeah, you got yourself confused. That's what I tell people. We be confusing ourselves. Stay in context. Stay in context. When people be calling me sheik, just like a teacher, you go to school and miss everything and never question the teacher. Go get a whole miseducation. But what we do on here, when people call me they sheik, I'm not nobody else sheik if they're not a student. That's why I be telling people, we in context, we hear. What did the title say? The name Negro, its origin and evil use. You going all over about something else. That's why I said I'll just say something to shake a person up and they be like, they ain't even catching what this man doing. He throwing 48 laws of power right back on you and don't even know it. That's what I do. I said, dude, but what we do, we go all out of context. That's what we do. And then people say they're confused. That's what they want. You confused because you want to be confused because you're not a student. And that's what we do. We try to get on stuff and go here and go all over here and try to find stuff to debate. And it's not no debate. So what you confused on? I just said that ain't what I'm talking about. So how can you be confused on something? I say whatever. I say, man, words. I ain't talking about Mexico and what the original names and all that. I'm talking about you're not a Mexican or you're not Spanish or not Latino. And I'm saying genetically. You're not a Mexican or none of that. Genetically. Blood. That's what I'm talking about. When I'm talking about names can be changed. I tell people this all day with cardiographers and map makers. The first cardiographers. And how shall we ever be able to change it? But this is not so difficult as it appears at first. In our time, we have seen important changes made in the names of several peoples. As Bishop Reginald Barrow has pointed out, the name of the people of Ghana was changed upon regaining their independence, and the name which had been imposed by European rulers, the Gold Coast, had been buried with the subject past. For centuries, the Ethiopian nations was tagged Abyssinia by European powers and publicists. And when the proper name Ethiopia was registered with the League of Nations, the misrepresentation hybrid name was decisively changed. Similar changes of names have occurred among the Asian people, to mention only two just now. The two of Iran have put aside the name Persia. The name Dutch East Indies has been appropriately cast off, and the honorable name Indonesia is now the accepted and proper name. In our own hemisphere, it has been noteworthy that when the slaves of the former French colony of Saint Dominique succeeded in throwing off their yoke of subjection and emerged as a new nation in 1804, they took as a fitting name, one which the indigenous people of that island had used in freedom and honor, Haiti. The name West Indies was almost changed to Caribbean. The origination which initiated the movement from a federation which complete self-government called itself the Caribbean Labor Conference. The name Caribbean derived from the indigenous people, now almost wholly and sadly extinct, was projected in the draft for the constitution of the new nation. And unfortunately, however, the misnomer due to the error of Colin in assuming that he had reached the Indies has been reverted to an independence has not yet been wholly achieved. It may still be objected, nevertheless, that all these examples of change of name do not really apply, since people of African origin in this country now lack the political power to enforce such a change. That is mistaken. Once this change of name is insisted upon by a majority of us, it will be accepted generally. The basic principle involved in actually the determination of any group of people to rid themselves of the stigma which a bad name carries, and the recognition of their right to do so by other people, directly to the point, is the change in the use of a common, what we call the N, to a capital N in writing the word Negro in English. And so when people be trying to come educate me on something, I say, well, why don't you go educate? Why don't you go teach? When you be going to church, people be going to church, they'll never say nothing to the preacher. They'll go to schools, they get court-appointed attorneys and all this, don't have nothing to say. But then they jump on my page and have something to say. And I ain't even in context what you talk about. That's what people be wanting to do, just try to show how smart they are, but then call me they sheik. How I'm your sheik? My students, all my students know where I'm coming from. These just be people on the internet. Our right to full citizenship. It just be people talking. And dogs and slaves are named by masters. Freemen named themselves. And we are thus entitled to be called Americans. But some people desire to differentiate. Whatever you want to do, that's fine. I know what type of American I am. I ain't here to debate nobody and what they are. That's why I tell people the same way you come on my page is the same way you can come off. I tell people that's why I'm blocking so many people that been following me forever that make excuses. That's why these people be in the situations that they in, because they think they slick. I tell people stay in context. You got people need to know what context mean. But we don't. Let me play this film and I'm out of here. We ain't debated nobody. You ain't debating. Ain't nobody debated them prosecutors, attorneys, them court-appointed attorneys. People be in prisons and in halfway house. They ain't debating nobody showing how smart. These people be locked the fuck up, but we want to tell somebody how smart they are. And they be saying what they don't have. How are you so smart? That shit ain't averaging out to me.
Says here the facts on file.
Shit. Matter of fact, let me turn the film down for these brothers that be thinking they studying. They need to study some more.
By Robert Hendrickson. Says here the N-word. I'm not going to say the full word, especially so we don't get this video taken down. When used by a white person to describe a black or African American person, this is probably the most offensive, hateful, hurtful term in the language today. Like Negro, the word derives ultimately from the Latin Niger, black. It is not an Americanism. The first recorded use of the N-word being in a 1786 poem by Robert Burns, although variations on it include, and this has Negro here and the rest of them as you see here, are recorded 2 centuries before then. Though African Americans do commonly use the word in different ways among themselves, and that N-word got luck you wouldn't believe. Blacks rarely, if ever, do so in the presence of whites, right? So-called blacks and whites. This is cream color talk here, guys. Since the O.J. Simpson murder trial in 1995, when evidence of its use by a detective witness was introduced, it often has been euphemistically called the N-word. The N-word has also been an offensive derogatory term applied to Indians, okay? That's what I wanted to show you. It was applied to Indians as well as so-called blacks up until recent times. All right, over here we got just another quick reference. Historical quotes from Oxford Dictionary. Yes, this was in the Oxford Dictionary. One of the definitions says, for the N-word, a dark-skinned person of any origin. An early U.S. use, usually with reference to American Indians. Again, usually, originally, in early use, it was first applied to who? To American Indians. American Indians, again, from the Oxford Dictionary, one of the very old versions.
So I'm done. I just wanted to show that. And that's what I be saying when our brothers, man, which baffles me. And I'm like, stay in context. Look what the heading say. It's the name Negro. Its origin and evil use. And then more, they try to go on spilling all that. What this mean, that. And I'm like, okay, well, what you trying to say? And then I'll just say something what I do, I just say something to throw a wrench in it. Because I ain't even talking about that. And then a piece of person to show both of their hands. And I'm like, dude, we in context. We talking about the term Negro. And I'm showing in different versions of how the word being used, how it's being used derogatory. And then I'm showing you where you can look up how the word Negro was what they tried to call Indians Negroes. And I was showing you a dictionary where you can get to go research this stuff. And that's what we do. We start splitting off a whole bunch of shit. And then these people call me they sheik. And I'm like, but how am I your sheik and you're not a student? Whoever this person is that make. That's why I be saying these people be saying, "Oh, Sheik," but I'm not but they not my student. And it don't be no disrespect. And people been through high school and all that. Ain't never said nothing to their teacher when they come with Black history and you a slave and Christopher Columbus. And ain't nobody never said nothing to them teachers. Your children finna go to school and all that. Christopher Columbus, we a slave. You ain't gonna say nothing. They don't even go to parent-teacher conference. They don't have time. But what we do, we get on here and make statements. That's what we do. And I say, well, do you got children? Yep. What do your kid? Do your kid think they Negro Black? All the stuff that you regurgitating on here that we've been, that ain't shit. What do your children know it? No, we are here trying to convince how smart we are, and they calling me they Sheik. You trying to convince a teacher this? That shit be crazy to me, man. And our own people do that shit. It be our own fucking people that try to tell me about something. And I say, stay in context. I teach this. I teach history. I ask the person somewhere, if you're so smart, why they having a attack academia? Or why they not teaching? Or why they in the situation they in? And then they start getting mad. See? Because all that so-called knowledge don't mean shit. If it can't be applied, it don't turn to wisdom. People can't even get themselves out of fucked up situations. But, well, America this, we this. But these motherfuckers being fucked up real life situations. But they know so much. I said, man, that don't mean shit. And that's what these people do, think that they can read a whole bunch of books and they be poor as hell. They be living with women on Section 8. They be criminals and shit. And for real, they come to me and talk about, I said, well, so what you doing? You trying to have a pissing contest with a teacher? No, I didn't. See, no, I didn't use Mexico as no bullet point. You wrong. See, that's why I'm telling you. You totally off. Totally off. That's why I be telling you. That's why I said, I'm pretty like, you wrong. He said, you use Mexico as a bullet point, Sheik, but Mexico is not a misnomer. Dude, yes, it is. When you see Mexico, when you go to Cancun.
Mexico isn't a misnomer. Mexican is.
Duh. I keep telling you, that's what they be tripping. I said, when you go to the Cancun, we go to have fun, go to the Olmec Museum, and then have a conversation. Because ain't nobody Mexican is a misnomer. I know the land. I mean, come on, man. That's why I be saying people be trying to play semantics. You can't play semantics. That shit be stupid. We do that.
It is a misnomer. Mexican.
Come on. Just like Africa say, they gonna say they black. They ain't no African. They ain't black.
Black is a misnomer.
So what people be saying?
Latino.
And I asked them, and then I asked the person if they in trouble. What did you sign in your paperwork? I bet you ain't signed Bay or nothing. I bet you all this stuff we be saying. I bet anybody paperwork if they in trouble, they got a job. I bet you they black.
So is Hawaiian a misnomer?
Who?
Hawaiian.
But that's just the land. But
That's what I'm saying.
but they ain't gonna say. But you know what they gonna say?
They're gonna say what their tribe there.
You damn right they gonna say. That's what they gonna say. You damn right they gonna say they Samoan. Or whatever, just like if you go to Africa and get dropped off and say, okay, I'm African. They be like, no, are you Bantu? Are you Yoruba? Are you Zulu?
So that's a misnomer.
Come on. But people ain't been there. That's why I be like, man, that's people play semantics on the internet. I don't have time for that shit. But these people call me they Sheik. I'm not they Sheik. This just a person on the internet that's just talking. Shit. This ain't my student. When the person be like Sheik, I be like, I'm not they student. They not what they talk about. This is a person on the internet.
So Guatemalan, that's a misnomer too.
Man, come on, man. That's why I be telling people they can't even get themselves out of situations. But got the nerve to sit on here and you look up a person and see where they situation at. Who would you want to listen to? Who would you want to be educated by? I know. And that's what I be telling people. We be playing semantics. Oh, the word they said is no. Man, come on, man. Stop playing semantics. If we're here for education, let's do it the right way. Don't be trying to do like what the satanic spirit tried to do with Yahshua per se. Ask him a whole bunch of questions, try to get him up in a tongue twister. Like this barbershop talk. And that's all Moors be wanting to do. See? You say, I'll be in school eventually, Sheik. See? You can't. That's what I be telling people, man. It be all talk. But why they want to become a student and then they think they teaching me something? Why? Why would they want to become a student of me? You feel me? How am I channel for these people? That's why I said I block everybody. And these people they don't be knowing that they be following my people. This person follow one of my muftis. Follow my Noble Alonzo Bay. I told my Noble Alonzo. That's why I be telling people. People, y'all on my page, they be like, oh, my Sheik Goodman, babe, then these people be perpetrating. Like, oh, I know you're Sheik. I've been following him for years. No, you a groupie. These niggas be groupies. I'm telling you, they just be on here just try to get a little information. Yeah, and try to get on here and say some shit. And then when they get dog checked, if you have that same energy, you ain't gonna say nothing to no European. These niggas be in halfway houses and shit. The Europeans that make them do whatever, but they get on here trying to tell me something. And I know who these people be. I know they ain't. This person follow my Noble Alonzo Bay. He don't know me. All on my Noble Alonzo Bay page. All over Alonzo Bay, calling me Sheik. This person don't know me from Adam. Just jump on my IG page, calling me Sheik. Ain't never supported nothing, ain't never came to class, but all of a sudden I'm your Sheik. You on my page every day, good afternoon, Sheik, like you a student. All my students, any of my members, they laughing like, man, dude, you need to get off here because this is a teacher. He do all that. I just put 48 laws of powers on the person and they talk about they heavy. Just like I did the mirror effect on one dude, he talking all that shit. I said, dude, you holding up 48 laws of power. I just did the shit that you say you read and you study. What you mean, Sheik? I just used 48 laws of power. I think it's law 45, the fucking mirror effect. I used the same shit back on you. Oh, damn, I gotta read it. Nigga, you the one posting the book. You see how dumb these people be, ISIS?
Yeah, he said, oh, I gotta read it. You just was saying.
I throw the shit right back on you, the 48 laws of power, and they look stupid and get afraid. And then talk here, well, I'm gonna be a student soon, Sheik. You ain't no gonna be shit. You gonna keep doing what you doing. I blocked you now, you're gonna be on somebody else's page. I block you off my IG, you ain't finna be no student. You ain't gonna go on my Noble Alonzo page like, man, I was on a Sheik YouTube page and overspoke. And Alonzo gonna say, that's what your ass get, because you ain't no student. You should know this. You've been following this man forever. You playing. And my nobles are grown men. My Noble Alonzo is a grown man, be like, shit. And I told Alonzo, I said, man, look at this Tyvon, what's his name? Tyvon Campbell Bay. No, Tyvon Campbell Bay, some shit. And that's the brother I tried to give love to when he told me he in the halfway house. You see what I be telling people? Then you go on these people's page, they got liquor, they act like they rappers and all that goofy shit. I said, man, stop playing. Yes, this is what the man told me. This is what I told my Alonzo.
You can't have liquor in the halfway house.
No, but his IG page like he living his best life. And then they always talk about what they don't got. And then they say they're going to be a member, a student soon. How you going to tell an institution you're going to be a member soon? We don't have to accept you. This is my motherfucking school. Talk about you going to be a member student soon. How I tell people, I don't give a fuck about your money. People, couple dollars don't mean shit. You can't buy yourself around me. I deal with your spirit first, with your heart. If your heart ain't right, I ain't fucking with you and bring you to my table.
That didn't sound right. It sounded like he was trying to check you.
Man, can't nobody, no goof nigga on the internet can check me. I don't even care about no shit like that.
But if you was listening, you would know.
He not listening.
Numbers.
Not listening.
Nobody said anything about Mexico.
Not listening. We only want to hear what we want to hear. We have that selective memory.
That's the wrong context.
We got that. We want to do something and try to check something. And this person talking about, I'm gonna be a student soon. No, you're not. Because the institution got to accept you too. You can want to go there and they say, okay, well, let me look at this person. Let me see. We don't need you. Your ass crazy than the motherfucking. We see what you trying to do. Or you want to claim your nationality. You talk about you finna claim your nationality. You finna expatriate from this de facto government. You ain't even gonna be a member. You ain't even gonna abide to the membership dues. I'm not finna waste my time with these people that just want to jump on my page. Same people that I stopped doing YouTube Saturday adapt class ISIS and Sunday school. As I stopped, they still jump on here and they ain't never came to class. And if you want to come to class, Sunday school and adapt class, it's only a $25 donation. So you ain't even got to be a member. Come to class. But they want to jump on here to piggyback. One of these Negroes been following me forever. You're gonna be a member, a student soon. No, you're not. I just told you. You're not going to be no member soon. You can be now go follow all the other people that you was doing and see how your life going to be. Because you ain't going to be no member soon under my school. Not that I'm the Sheik. And then you see the brother talk about, oh, Sheik. I'm not your Sheik. Just like you say, oh, doctor, thank you. And be lying, oh, yeah, that's my doctor right there. I ain't your fucking doctor. How? I know who my members are. I know who my students are. I know who my muftis are and my empresses are. I know who they are. Not you. Talk about you gonna be a student soon. How? And my muftis gotta interview you. My Noble Lamar gonna be like, nope. Just like when we was out yesterday and Lamar hit me up like, Sheik, can I ask you a question? He say, these motherfuckers in the inbox on BBT, Negroes, like, can I just speak to him? And Lamar like, speak to him for fucking what? It ain't nothing for them to speak for because they want to ask me a whole bunch of dumb shit. When you go to college and take classes, you ain't finna speak to no teacher. You're going to enroll. And then when you enroll, you're going to ask the teacher whatever the hell you want to. But see these goofy ass, retarded ass Negroes that got mental health issues all in the inbox. Well, I can't just speak to the man because I don't got time to speak to your goofy ass. If you want to talk, do like you do an attorney or a motherfucker, a retainer fee. Damn it. If not, what you want to talk to me about? Nothing. Be a student. And I told y'all, that's what this movement came to. A whole bunch of Negroes that get on here and want to act like they want to say something, and these motherfuckers living in poverty. And they don't have nothing. And you pull their kids, and their kids don't know shit. They empresses ain't dealing with them. And they'll be like, I ain't dealing with this motherfucker. No, because look at his life. It'd be a whole bunch of ex-criminals and think them claiming their nationality like they're gonna have something. And you ain't gonna have none of that around me. You going right back to jail. Do not pass go with your goofy ass monopoly ass. Real talk, man. And I told y'all, this is what it comes to. This is what this shit is came to. A whole bunch of incompetent motherfuckers get on the internet trying to act like they smart. Take your ass to school. And let me see how smart your retarded ass is. You're going to flunk out that motherfucker. Take your ass to academia. Go to your kids' school when they telling them history is European, when they getting with that pseudo-academia. Go question your goofy ass preacher. Ain't going to do none of that shit. Then talk about you going to be a student soon. No, you ain't. You're going to keep doing the same thing you doing. Jumping on people's pages. I love y'all, man. And peace. But you're going to be a student soon.